Wait, is there no cooldown on this? Never mind. That's broken. Wait, why isn't there a cooldown on this? What? So, her weapon is crit rate, which indicates that she is incredibly likely to be crit damage ascension, which is really good for me, because otherwise I would be omega overcapped on my builds. It's good for everyone, actually, because it's a lot easier not to overcap. She is? Oh, is it? Do we know for sure? Oh yeah, we do know for sure. It's here. I'm an idiot. 359 base, that's high. That's the highest we have, right? It's tied with Mawika, I think? Yeah. But yeah, her being crit damage is really good, especially because her best teams are going to have Farina. It means that Maritos is going to be a viable artifact set for her. And because her signature set is only usable on her, and the plunge set is only usable on plungers, a lot of people won't want to spend time in that domain. So her being crit damage ascension is really, really good for a lot of people. So, do we read this shit? Skirk can consume Serpent Subtlety to maintain 7-phase flash and cast her Elemental Burst Foul Art Ruin. Skirk can gain Serpent Subtlety via the following: after casting Elemental Skill Foul Art Flash, or absorbing Void Rifts via talent Reason Beyond Reason. When Skirk is switched off field during 7-phase flash, or when 7-phase flash ends, remove all stacks of... Okay, so she can't be swapped off. Already, Shenhe enjoyers, you're fucking worthless and talentless, and honestly, you should end your suffering. Sorry. This is good news for Yelan. This is good news for Yelan. Very good news for Yelan. Okay, after casting Elemental Skill, Foul Art Flash, switch will Skirk to this mode for some time. It has the following properties. Gradually consume Serpent Subtlety. So basically, you use her skill, and it fills up a fucking bar, which is basically just a resource bar, like a Night Soul bar, like the Wanderer bar, but just it's not Night Soul, so it won't work for Obsidian. And that bar functions as her energy, which means you can't use her burst, at least her default burst, and spend a lot of uptime on her. You have to choose between one of the two, which makes a lot of sense based on what her artifact set does, right? Because her artifact set also asks you to choose between one of the two. Throw a pole. Interesting. I wonder what the charge attack looks like. Because the charge attack is an important part of her playstyle, right? So I'm kind of curious. Anyways, so increase the AoE and damage dealt by normal and charge attacks, and increases Skirk's interruption resistance. Normal, charge, and plunge attacks will be converted to cryo damage. Elemental Burst, Foul Art Ruin will be replaced by Foul Art Decimate. Skirk can move on water when she sprints. Damn. But not when she doesn't sprint? That's kind of stupid. Wait, no, wait, actually, I'm an idiot. Sprinting is just not walking, right? So you sprint even without dashing, right? I don't understand your question, sorry. Maybe it's like Ayaka? Maybe, I guess. Anyways, when Serpent When Serpent Subtlety is depleted or duration expires, Skirk exits this state and her elemental skill enters CD. Okay, so the cooldown starts after the end of the skill, which means TF shenanigans are dead. That's tragic. They hate me, chat. I think they really hate me. TF shenanigans are dead and Chongyun shenanigans are cooked as well, right? Because she's a normal attack focused cryo character that forces you to have other cryo teammates, so it would make a lot of sense for her to have some form of synergy with Chongyun. But the fact that her skill enters cooldown after the duration is over rather than at the start with a longer cooldown is bad for Chongyun, right? If you get your cooldown to be like 15% smaller thanks to Chongyun CDR, if you have 12 seconds of uptime and then 6-second cooldown, that 6 seconds cooldown is reduced by 0.9 seconds. So you only gain 0.9 seconds in your rotation, right? And so instead of 18, it's 17.1. But if it's a 12 seconds uptime, 18-second cooldown, and it starts at the beginning, that 15% CDR is now worth 2.7 seconds. So you get to do 15.3-second rotations instead of 17. You basically save 2 seconds on a rotation. But that's not the case, so... Sorry. Nothing interesting on the normal attacks until we see the numbers. Foul Art Flash, so her skill. Tap, gains 45 stacks of Serpent Subtlety, and enters the 7-phase flash mode. Hold gains 45 stacks and engages in continuous swift movement during which Skirk's resistance to interruption is increased. During this time, Skirk can control the rapid movement and end it by using the skill again. This is actually kind of interesting because usually for characters like this, the hold version, that's like the movement thingy, isn't something you use in combat most of the time. But here, because the hold doesn't put you in 7-phase flash, if you're doing the burst focus playstyle, you probably do want to hold so that you don't have your stacks decay over time. So that's kind of interesting. But you need 50 to burst? Yeah, but you can, I mean, I'm sure you can gain some from other sources, right? Like, we're not done. There's fucking, look at how many things there are left to read, okay, buddy? Like, let's keep going, okay? Calm down. So, Foul Art Ruin, the Elemental Burst. Skirk's Elemental Burst is not reliant on energy, but instead on Serpent Subtlety. When Skirk has at least 50 stacks, Skirk can use Elemental Burst, consuming all stacks, ripping apart the space in front of her and dealing consecutive slashes of cryo AoE damage. The damage dealt by this Elemental Burst is increased based on the Serpent Subtlety stacks, over 50 when casting the skill. A maximum of 12 stacks can be counted. So, I'm really curious as to how much it increases from the additional 12 stacks. Like, is it just, you know, like fucking 24% bigger because you have 24% more stacks? Or is it double damage if you're fully stacked up? But that's something we can't know until we have the numbers, unfortunately. I'm expecting it to be a pretty large difference, honestly. But then again, maybe not, because it consumes the whole thing, so if you do use this, you can't then follow it up with some normal attacks. In other words, it's not like you can get the best of both worlds anyway. So maybe this is just supposed to be a reward for, like, good gameplay. And if it's designed that way, then it might not be that big of a difference. Anyways. Foul Art Decimate, her other elemental burst. So she, just like Veresa, has 2 different elemental bursts. A special elemental burst that does not consume Serpent Subtlety. So this is a burst that doesn't cost any energy. After casting this, she gains Withering, lasting until 7-phase flash ends. So this is something that I'm guessing you're supposed to use after the skill, or right before the skill. After unlocking Reason Beyond Reason, can also absorb nearby Void Rifts. I mean, I saw the early leaks for this, so I kind of understand what this means, but we'll get back to this later. During Withering, every 0.1 seconds when Skirk's normal attacks hit an enemy, the damage dealt by normal attacks is increased. If Void Rifts are absorbed when casting Foul Art Decimate, so if there are Void Rifts, if there's balls, when you use the mini burst, the normal attack damage is further increased. So this seems very important. Unless it's a very small number, this is this is probably going to be a sizable motion value buff to her normal attacks. So you probably really want to use this. Okay. That's good. I really hope the numbers on this are actually good enough to justify using it sometimes. Already, though, this is a good sign, because this looks like it incentivizes... I'm expecting this kit, true and real. I'm expecting the normal attack gameplay to be better, but because you have to go through more different steps, it'll probably be a lot less front-loaded. Whereas the burst thing is probably gonna be able to get a lot of damage out really quickly, which is what they fucked up with Veresa, right? Like, the biggest problem with Veresa's design is that her normal burst does not have good enough numbers to ever justify using. That's by far the biggest problem with her kit. She doesn't actually have 2 bursts. She has 1 good mini burst and a fucking, like, Shao normal attack level ability with her normal burst. You know, like, it's cool and all, but you're not using it, right? This is the sort of kit that, like, actually makes sense to have 2 different bursts. Reason Beyond Reason. So this is the Void Rift stuff. So we gotta fucking talk about that. When nearby party members trigger Frozen, Superconduct, Cryo Swirl, or Cryocrystallize, and here this is important, okay? You need to understand, this does not actually apply to Melt. So it's the cryo reactions with Hydro, Electro, Animo, and Geo, and then there's no Dendro reaction, and Melt is not here. What that means is that if you force her into a Melt team, she is not getting this from the Melt. You might still be able to get it off of, I don't know, your fucking Shiloden on the team or whatever, but not from the Melt. Right? Anyways, a Void Rift will be created. This event can be triggered once every 2.5 seconds. At most, 3 Void Rifts created by Skirk can exist on the field at once. This means that her setups need to be at least, like, 6 seconds long. Because the amount of Void Rifts that are on the field at the start of your rotation matter a lot because of this burst, right? Because this increases the damage of normal attack based on the number of Void Rifts absorbed, so you really want to have 3 by the time you use this. Which means you need to proc this 3 times, but you can only trigger it once every 2.5 seconds. And then on top of that, you can't trigger it on the first hit because it's a reaction, so it's going to be on the second hit inherently. Right? The second character you swap to is going to be the one that triggers it. So it forces your setups to be at least like 6 seconds long. But that doesn't seem to apply to the Big Burst. The Big Burst doesn't seem to give a shit about how many Void Rifts you have at the start. Although I guess the Void Rifts generate energy, so maybe that's not true. So set up E charge attack, Q normal attack. I'm not sure yet. We're not done. We're not done. Skirk will absorb nearby Void Rifts via the following: hitting an opponent with a charge attack, casting the special burst, so the mini burst, and moving swiftly during the hold. Oh, interesting. That's cool. That means if you get your 3 out at the start, and you hold, you get 45 from the hold, and you immediately get 24 from this, which gets you to 69, which is enough to max this out, because you need 62. That's good. That's cool. You can decide to consume them faster with a dash, but without doing damage. Is that the trade? I guess, yeah. I also feel like if you do, like, the tap instead of the hold, you might decay some stacks by the time your end lag is over, so you might inherently get stuck at like a 61 or 60 stacks instead of 62. So depending on like there might be an effect that only triggers if you're full, like on Molani, where like there's the base damage, the additional damage per stack, and there's also the additional damage that only happens if you are at max stacks, right? Like, there might be an additional damage, an additional number, an additional amount of motion value that only triggers if you are actually completely full. And if there is, then the burst focus playstyle would have to do the hold in order to benefit from it. I think you can't do the normal ult if you tap skill. That's possible. I think that's kind of cringe if that's how they code it, though. But I guess it kind of makes sense, because otherwise it'll be, yeah, actually no, that makes sense, yeah. That's cringe, yeah. Anyways, then during her uptime, you'll probably get like 3 or 4, maybe even 5, depending on how long she stays on field, additional Void Rifts. You'll probably want to include at least 2 charge attacks during your uptime if you do the normal attack playstyle. Anyways, this is the part that ruins her kit, by the way. This is the part that makes her a terribly designed character that's gonna fucking ruin this game. Also, nice font for Hydro LOLW. When nearby Hydro party members deal Hydro damage, or when nearby other Cryo party members deal Cryo damage, Skirk gains 1 stack of Death's Crossing, lasting 20 seconds, max 3 stacks. Each stack is counted independently. Each party member can only grant Skirk 1 stack. When Skirk has stacks, normal attacks and bursts have increased damage. For normal attacks, it's 10%, 20%, 70%, and for bursts, it's 5%, 15%, 60%. This isn't a bit type shit. If you mean, like, it's coded the same way, it's a direct motion value buff, I am assuming that it is. But if you are talking about how it affects her team building, I think it's very different from Nibida. Why is this ultra bad? I mean, it's something I've already touched on before, but the party restriction for Nibida is actively helpful for his team building. because the characters that are designed to work well with Neuvillette are characters that prevent you from getting all stacks on him. What that means is that by playing Neuvillette, by using his best characters, his best possible teams, you're not making full advantage of the passive, which means that the passive existing serves as a way to bridge the gap between his premium teams and his suboptimal teams. And so, to me, that's a good thing. With Skirk, it's the exact opposite. Her best teams are already gonna be the freeze teams because of how broken Escoffier is. I mean, okay, technically, if it wasn't for this passive, there is a possibility that she is actually so broken that Mel teams are better. But, like, Escoffier is so strong that that would only be the case if she's, like, significant Maoiga power creep. But, like, if we're not assuming that they're actively, completely trying to destroy any semblance of balance in the game, her best teams should already be freeze teams. And having something like this that increases the gap even more between the premium freeze teams and the non-premium ones, on top of also increasing the gap between freeze teams and other teams, is fucking sad. It's really rough. Because, like, if you don't have Escoffier, those freeze teams are fucking already, like, 30% weaker. And that's if you're using Charlotte. If you on top of that don't get the fucking stack from this, it's like 50% weaker. Like, using Shilonen instead of Escoffier in a team with the exact same other slots, your team DPS is actually gonna be half. Like, outright just half. Like, this is not an exaggeration. It's gonna be fucking half. And that's cooked. Okay? Like, that's just how it is, man. C2 Shilonen and Skirk teams. Buddy, C6 Shilonen will be worse than C0 Escoffier on a fucking halberd on a Skirk team. Alright? Like, I don't like this design decision at all. Even if Yelan is the one getting replaced. Buddy, C6 Shilonen is going to be worse than level 1 fucking Apprentice Notes Barbara. You need to understand how broken this thing is. Especially paired with what you get from Escoffier. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Silverness. Like, you will get significantly better results using Singto and just skipping his burst than using Shilonen. Anyways, next, because we needed more reasons to put only Hydro and Cryo party members in the party. When all party members are Hydro or Cryo and there's at least one Hydro or Cryo party member, all party members' elemental skill levels increase by 1. Which, I mean, it's totally not them telling you, yeah, you should definitely be using this character with Escoffier and Farina, and if you don't have them, you should fucking off yourself. My god, man. It's so bad. Fucking hell. Is this Star Rail balance? Okay, unironically, I'm kind of curious. I don't think there's any character in Star Rail that has a situation as bad as this other than Jingyuan. Maybe the Acheron stuff, because I haven't kept up with Nihility releases since I stopped playing. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, not knowing the multiplier. It doesn't matter what the multiplier is. Like, okay, here's the thing, alright? Because this thing is outright motion value multiplication, it means that it's the same percentage increase no matter what the base motion value is, right? So, you start with, I don't know, 1,000,000 damage before this, or at 2 stacks. It'll be 1.4 mil damage at 3 stacks, right? But then on top of that, you also have Escoffier, who also gets you an additional 40% shred going from 3 to 4. Like, if she does literally 0 damage, the team is, like, 60% worse. If she does infinite damage, let's say she does fucking 100 million damage per rotation, it would be a difference of, like, 30-ish%. Or 40-ish%. But it's never gonna be less than that. Because just from losing this stack, you've got a guaranteed loss on here. And that's without looking at what you're losing from not having Escoffier's additional, like, better buffs, healing, and damage. It's bad, man. It's bad, man. New endgame leakers? I'll take a look at it in a minute. We're not done looking at this. Like, I don't want to look at the cons. Okay. Reason Me and Reason is enhanced after absorbing Void Rifts. It will summon a Crystal Blade, dealing AoE cryo damage equal to 500% of her attack. This is considered charge attack damage. That doesn't get affected by this. So maybe this is supposed to push Melt. Perhaps. Perhaps this is supposed to push Melt. Who knows? This seems kind of low, though. Wait. Is there no cooldown on this? Never mind. That's broken. Wait. Why isn't there a cooldown on this? What? Oh, okay. Sure. That's... It's 3 times 5... No, you don't get it. It's a lot more than that. You don't absorb a total of 3 Void Rifts per rotation. You absorb a total of like 7 to 8 Void Rifts per rotation. This one by itself is Ayaka's whole rotation damage. You guys need to understand, okay? Like, like, if there is actually no cooldown on this, this is Ayaka's rotation just in this constellation. Oh man, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's so funny. No, that's that's so fucking funny. Does her set buff charge attacks? It does, right? I just want to double check. I'm getting unsure. It doesn't. Wait, so her set is bad for people that are gonna fucking wail on her. That's so funny. All the fucking pre-farmers completely gutted. Jesus. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, man. Anyways, after casting Elemental Skill, Foul Art, Flash, which one is that? No, okay. That's just one casting skill. Gains an extra 12 stacks. Elemental Burst is enhanced. An extra 12 stacks can be counted towards the damage. Okay. When Skirk is under, in her skill, 60 damage %. Okay, so this is just a default con that increases burst damage or normal attack damage. So either 60 damage % or whatever you get from this, which we still don't know what that is. Burst level is the first one. That's very interesting. And skill level being the second one probably means that her normal attacks are like Child, where like the numbers on the normal attacks are on the skill, not on the normal attack itself. Which, if that is the case, means that this thing is also a relevant thing, which is gonna make the difference between having all freeze and not having it even bigger. Because honestly, I think it really needed to be bigger. Yep. This crossing stacks increase Skirk attack by 10, 20, 50%. This is... Wait, this isn't actually that bad, right? Because she has, like, no attack % in her kit. Does her weapon give attack? It does. 48 attack. But still, her attack % is really low. I guess it makes sense. I guess for a C4, it's not bad, because most C4s kind of suck. You think Cryo or Attack Outlet is better for her? It might actually be Attack. It's gonna depend on your weapon, most likely. Because she doesn't get damage % or attack % in her kit. But if you're using Farina, you get damage % externally. Anyways, let's take a look at the C6 now. For every Void Rift absorbed by Skirk, she gains 1 stack of Foul Art Slash. Max 3 stacks. When casting Burst, consume all stacks to perform extra attacks. Each stack consumed deals cryo damage equal to 600% of her attack. Okay. An additional 1800% motion value. output it at the start. Seems alright. Under the 7-phase flash mode, when Skirk's 3rd or 5th normal attack hits an opponent, it will consume 1 slash or perform 3 extra attacks, each dealing 150% of her attack. So the 3rd and the 5th. So it's 900%. So she probably does like N5C here. She starts with 2 stacks. She does N5. Yeah, you should be fine with that. And depending on how many N5Cs, it's like probably somewhere between 1800 and 2700 motion value. So probably more than the burst one, which makes sense. Cool. And then under skill, when she takes damage, she consumes a stack to... Oh. That's funny. Anyways. How good is her Seg? 48% attack and 40 crit damage. That's pretty good. Okay. I am going to assume that there is a cooldown to the C1 and it's just not translated yet. Because otherwise, this is the strongest Constellation in the game. Like, outright, by far, the strong... This is stronger than Yelan C6. It's stronger than fucking Mawika's... Like, this is not okay. So there has to be a cooldown on this. Or maybe you only get it if you consume 3 or something. Because isn't Haran better than her Seg? How many stats do you get on Haran again? It's not that much, is it? It's 54 damage percent? That's so much worse. What? We already said that attack and damage goblet are pretty similar because she has like no attack buffs in her team. And you're out here telling me that 54 damage percent is better than 48% attack and 40 crit damage? Really? 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 Pretty much the same amount for attack versus damage, but an additional 40 crit damage? And you think it's worse? Oh, cooldown would you consider good for C1? I would expect like a fucking 9-second cooldown or something like that, or 10-second cooldown. Or maybe it's a once per rotation type beat. I feel like if it's once per rotation, it's too bad though. At the very least, it needs to have a cooldown. Like, okay, I hope at least it doesn't work as in like, if you consume 3, you get 1500. I hope that at least if you consume 3, you only get 500. If it's like that, it's still really, really powerful, but it's not as broken. I think it should be 5-second cooldown. That would be fine, yeah. So don't want to swap her from Sig set even with C1? No, definitely. You definitely don't want her Sig set at C1. Assuming there's no cooldown on this, her Sig set is probably going to be fucking worse than Heart of Depth at C1. Like, again, right, as a reminder, if there's no cooldown on this, you can generate a Void Rift every 2.5 seconds. In practice, you won't trigger a Frozen every 2.5 seconds on the dot. So there's going to be a little bit of delay on each one. So let's say every 3 seconds, right? But you start your rotation by proccing 3 Void Rifts. So you get 3 at time 0. Then you get probably another 2 in the next 6 seconds. Then you do a charge attack with 2. And then if she's a short uptime character, you'll get another one at like 9. And that'll be it. And you'll get a total of 6, which is 3000 motion value. But if she's a longer uptime character, which I think is likely, because she's designed to work with... She's designed to work with Farina and Escoffier, which don't need to be swapped back into for at least 20 seconds. This could be 2 up to 12 or 3 up to 15. And if it's this, then that's 4000 motion value just from the C1. That sounds wrong? It does. That's why I'm assuming there's a cooldown and they haven't like put it in the files yet or some shit. Because there's no fucking shot, man. But yeah, because it's charge attack damage and her set doesn't buff charge attack damage, if it is that powerful, then her signature set is dog shit if you get her C1. Because you really want something that buffs these hits. Marie-José is probably going to be her best bet. But if you're overcapped on crit with Maréchaussée, you can consider anything else that buffs charge attacks. Maybe, what's it called? Fucking, the Wanderer set. Glad? No, Glad doesn't buff charge attacks. The Desert Pavilion Chronicle. DPC. That's 40 charge attack damage. It's okay. Heart of Death is 30 charge attack damage. Okay. I see the fucking Bolide spam in chat. I mean, sure, if you're using Dahlia, you can get fucking Bolide, I guess. Like, cool, buddy. Well, okay. Sure. Other than that, what else? You can use Vermilion? Pause? Chat? Chat? Is this a Vermilion character? Chat, if you're overcapped on crit, you need to burst at the start of your rotation anyways. Pause? Shimenawas? Shimenawas will be bad because you can't proc it. In order to use Shimenawas, you actively have to consume energy. So if you don't have energy, you can't activate the passive. But Vermilion might be better than the alternatives. It might be her best set if you're overcapped on Maréchaussée. At C1. Oh god. That's crazy. You can also obviously use Blizzard Trigger, but you've got the same problem as Maréchaussée. But yeah, it's good. She gets like incredibly little attack. If you look at the total amount of attack she's gonna get, I mean, I guess it's gonna depend a lot on the team, right? Or on the weapon, I mean. That means I'm gonna have to craft something, doesn't it? Do I craft Finale? Because Blackcliff won't be all that good if she actually scales like well with attack percent. Man, I don't want to have to. I really don't. What about Black Sword? I don't have it. But it will probably be pretty good on her if you're not overcapped with it. Finale or Issue, but I'm not gonna have a shield. I'm not using Dahlia. Fuck you. Full R1? No. Okay, actually, I just realized something, and it kind of pisses me off. My best weapon on her is gonna be Aquila, isn't it? Yeah. And that. No, it's just because it's a high base attack weapon with 20% attack on the passive.